The City of Charleston Department of Parks is busy with a lot of projects, from the reopening of Demetre Park to improvements of Stoney Field. I sit down one-on-one with the director of the Department of Parks, Jason Kronsberg, for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and download my free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Jason Kronsberg, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome greatly. I know this has been an interview in the making for many, many years. Obviously, you are over the Department of Parks here at the City of Charleston. And as I was coming up the steps, I noticed as I was coming in the sign that says capital projects.
That's right.
What capital projects are on the table right now for the Department of Parks in your mind?
Right. Well, so a little bit of a background. The Parks Department is 3 specialized divisions. We're capital projects, facilities maintenance, and grounds maintenance. So we have about a $200 million revolving capital plan. So we build everything from fire stations to police stations to rec centers to athletic fields. We do all of our capital maintenance on our parking garages and all of our other facilities around the city. Then we have about 4.5 million square feet of buildings, and then we have about 125 parks. So right now, we have a number of large capital projects that are ongoing. The biggest one right now is the African American Museum. We just broke ground on that, so that project's underway. We have a forensic center for the police department that we just broke ground on, and we have a new recreation center that we're building on Daniel Island, among a bunch of other projects. But those are the 3 largest capital projects that are ongoing right now.
And those projects right now, how much is that costing right now for the city?
I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but I know the rec center is about 10 or 11 million, and the forensic center is about the same. And then the African American Museum is the total project I think is about $95 million. $95 million. That's with design fees and all the exhibitry and everything. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff going on. Let me take you to some of the stuff that's going on right now, and there's always a big talk about that, and it's coming here soon, or eventually, the 5G cell service. I know you told Channel 4 this quote, trying to work within the realm of being public stewards to make sure we're getting good quality infrastructure. What's the quality infrastructure right now in the city?
So right now, so a little background on that as well. So I'm also the chair of the city's design review committee.
Right.
Which is different than the DRB or the BAR. We're a staff level committee that looks at changes or improvements to the city's public rights of way and the public realm, just to kind of, especially in the historic district or any other district in the city, to make sure that any proposed changes or improvements are in keeping with the historic character or the other areas of the city. So that's a good segue into the small cell stuff that's happening right now. Our role in the small cell implementation project was to create some design guidelines for all of the small cell providers to have a set of parameters or guidelines that they could use to propose these small cell infrastructure projects around the city. So right now, we just have regular cell infrastructure, which is the typical, the big towers that everybody used to see around. All of that's changing now into a much smaller block by block scenario. So that, again, the small cell providers came in and they would like some sort of small cell antenna pretty much on every block of the city. So we, again, created some guidelines, and they bring their proposals to us, and then we try to, we're working within some federal guidelines to make the footprint as light on the city as we can, and making sure, like I said in the other interview, that it's really good quality public infrastructure that's not too obtrusive into our public realm.
2 questions. How many applicants have you gotten so far, and what proposals have you gotten in your mind thus far as well?
So I think, if my memory serves me correctly, there's about 35 locations requested around the city, and some of them have been installed already.
Okay.
And we're still working through some of the details on we've asked the cell providers to come back with some different changes and different ways of doing things, especially in very historically sensitive areas.
And what are those sensitive areas in Charleston?
Right. So like Four Corners of Law.
Oh, yeah.
Right. We don't really want to clutter that up with urban clutter is what we call it. Too many things that take away from these, what I call linear parks.
Right.
Our streets are our linear parks,
Right.
The historic buildings, the sidewalks, the scale of everything. You should be able to walk through that corridor and feel at ease and look at that space and look at the buildings and this sense of place that all creates without having too many other things introduced into it, such as additional utility poles or additional these small cell antennas, and trying to get them to blend in as best as possible.
Those small cell antennas, how much is that costing the city by chance?
There's no cost to the city.
Okay.
We're just trying to make sure that it doesn't have too heavy of a footprint on what we call Charleston.
Charleston. And speaking of Charleston, let me take you to Demetre Park. Obviously, the scheduled reopening of Demetre Park on James Island after its 3-month revamp was delayed by Hurricane Dorian. Where are we with the reopening now?
So the park is open. We did a soft opening, and we have a small ceremony scheduled with the Demetre family to kind of rededicate the park and reopen it officially. So in that project, it took a while, but it actually started with Hurricane Matthew.
Right.
And then it went through Hurricane Irma. We were getting ready. We had a contract to start work when Irma hit, so we had to go back and adjust our drawings and get our permits updated through the permitting agencies. So it took a little bit of time, but the park's got a nice little renovation. Now
with the delays and with the hurricane and the permits and obviously everything else, how much did that cost you all?
That was a city-funded project that was being reimbursed by FEMA due to the hurricane damage. So I think the total project budget was about $895,000.
Okay.
And if my memory serves me correctly, it's 75% reimbursed by FEMA.
And how much more do you need now?
We're done.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's
the project's
amazing.
complete.
Okay. And Stoney Field, let me take you down there. You told Wi-Fi News in 2018 that the field has dropped 2 to 3 feet over the last 54 years. What is the elevation in the area right now?
That's right. So I think the field opened in 1964, and since it was built on an old landfill, which was placed over marsh, as with many of our low-lying areas around the city, it did settle almost 3 feet over that time. So, working with the Charleston County School District, right now there's a project in place where there is a surcharge package that's working right now. And what surcharge is when you bring in about 8 to 10 feet of dirt, you place it on the ground and you let Mother Nature do her work. In other words, gravity is using the weight of that dirt to consolidate all the subsurface materials. So that'll sit for about 10 to 12 months, which we're about halfway through that. And then the contractor will come in and scrape that dirt away. And we will have, at that point in time, we will build a new synthetic turf football and soccer field, and as well as a practice track for running for not only city rec programs, birth athletics, and our adult sports program, as well as the general public. So we should have a really nice facility when that project's finished.
Now, in that package, how much did that cost?
The school district's project and the city together, again, I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but it's about a $4 to $4.5 million project.
Oh, now how much has the school district put towards that thus far?
I think when it comes down to it, they're in it, and again, it's about a 1.2 or $1.5 million. I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, but so they're about in general terms, it's about a third to 2/3, I think, when it's all said and done.
Okay.
And we'll be doing, we'll be updating we'll be doing some maintenance work on the stands themselves. We'll be doing spall repairs, which is where the concrete is popped off. We'll be fixing all of those areas. We'll be redoing all the concrete joints, and then we'll do some sealing treatments to seal out the salt air, and then we'll come back with a new surface coat. So it'll have both sides of the stands will have a very fresh appearance. New bench seats and some booster style seating on the 50-yard line areas where you have seats with backs.
Right.
A little maintenance work up in the press box.
Oh, yes.
Some perimeter fencing, and the goal right now is we're evaluating the ability to put HVAC in the locker room. So hopefully after our mechanical contractors get that work completed, we'll figure out a good way to provide air conditioning into those old locker rooms in there.
Now the HVAC, is that included in the package, or that's additional costs for you all?
We're doing some of the maintenance work and the HVAC work outside of the school district project.
Okay.
So we're both working on projects together at the same time. They're funding the field work, and then all the other maintenance projects that we're doing around the stadium are city funded.
Okay.
But in that same $4 to $4.5 million project.
Now, going forth 5-10 years from now, what else can we expect from the Department of Parks in your mind?
5 to 10 years, from a capital projects point of view,
Yes,
we have a number of fire stations we need to build.
Okay.
The city's growing, and we're working with our fire department to prioritize where they need fire stations, and then we have to work with our real estate folks, and then once we get land, we've got 2 or 3 fire stations that need to be constructed. We have a lot of capital maintenance projects on task. Something that's pretty close to me has been our playground maintenance.
Okay.
We have a lot of playgrounds in the city that are aged, 20, 30 years old, and we haven't really had a lot of playground replacement budgets over the past 3 years, 4 years. We've been requesting budgets, and every year our playground replacement budgets increase, and so we've had the ability to replace almost 9 or 10 playgrounds so far in all areas of the city, whether it's Daniel Island, Johns Island, downtown, James Island, or West Ashley. So that's a pretty exciting project. So that's one of the small things that really touch people and touch neighborhoods.
Sure.
It's once your older playground gets a new playground equipment, it really does affect the neighborhood in a very positive way. So I want to see a lot of that happening, and just trying to elevate our level of maintenance, working with our nonprofit partners like the Charleston Parks Conservancy. Yes. They're doing great work out there, and we work together every day, and we can't do what they do, and they can't do what they do without us. So it's a great partnership. It's a model for the country, we think. We got a lot of good programming and little park renovation projects going on with them. As you know, we've got our West Ashley Greenway and Bikeway Master Plan completed with the Parks Conservancy. So with the Parks Conservancy and other nonprofits around the city, we're looking at ways to take that master plan and do some, whether they're intersection improvements or small parks within the bigger park, is to start creating some of these places along those 2 really wonderful linear parks. Again, the Bikeway and the Greenway. It's about 11.5 miles of linear park that go through West Ashley. It's an asset that most people know about, but from a big picture point of view, it's really a wonderful asset. So we'd like to start picking away at the little projects identified in the master plan, and again, creating that community pride in their parks.
Yes, indeed. That playground budget, how much has it increased in 2 years?
So when I started in this position, I think we had our playground maintenance budget was about $35,000 or $45,000 a year. So over the past couple of years, that has grown to about $200,000. So we're able to do about 2 to 3 playground replacements a year.
Man, that's amazing. That's really amazing. Yeah. Well, Jason Kronsberg, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
All right. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome anytime. Yeah.